Welcome to Industry Insiders, created and produced by the Center for Entertainment and Hospitality Management at California State University, Fullerton. During this series, we sit down with influential professionals in the entertainment and hospitality industries that are located across the world. Our goal is to learn about each professional's career and gain wisdom from their experience in the industry. This week's guest is Clark Jones. Clark is currently the Vice President and Site CFO of Finance, Revenue Planning, and Special Events at the Disneyland Resort. Clark has been at the Walt Disney Company for over 25 years with experience in attractions, marketing, operations, finance, special events, and more. He is the Chairman of Board of Directors at Visit Anaheim and is an active EHM Advisory Board member. Please join us as we welcome Clark Jones.
Yes, we like to welcome Clark Jones to Industry Insider. How are we doing today?
We're well. Yeah, that's a good lead-in. That's probably the most professional walk-on I've ever had. So thank you for that.
So we're going to thank both Jessica and Myra who produced that. They were wondering, they're like, I tried to add some Disney magic. So Myra, I know you're listening. Clark gives you the thumbs up. Well done.
Nice job.
Our co-host today for the first time is Alex. So Alex, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, tell us a fun fact about yourself, and then you can ask Clark the first question.
Okay, thank you. I'm Alex Manalong. I'm an incoming senior at Cal State Fullerton. Ooh, so excited. A fun fact about myself, I guess, is that I'm under 5 foot, just barely, but I'm 5 foot with the shoes on. So I'm very proud about that. And so I guess I'll start us off with the leading question. Clark, you've been at Disney for 25 years. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how has your career at Disney grown in the last 25 years?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question, Alex. So, just like with everybody else's careers, as you guys are about to find out, I think, it starts out relatively small, right? I mean, I majored in accounting at the University of Colorado. I've worked for a public accounting firm, got the opportunity to join the Disney Company in the management audit, individual contributor, as we call them, doing, individual audits on my own, working through the machine, meeting people, building up my Rolodex. And I like to use that term. Rolodexes are like the old style where you guys call it contacts, I think, on your phone. But building up my network. And then just, over time, Alex, it just, you just begin to take on more responsibilities. I was able to take on different aspects of the business. So at Walt Disney World, like I said, I started in Orlando, management audit. I did some planning. I worked with marketing and sales, worked with food and beverage and merchandise and entertainment. And as I was doing that, my responsibilities and my team and my accountabilities just began to grow and grow over time. And then had the opportunity to move out here to beautiful Southern California and Disneyland. I've been here, about 13 years now, and started out here as the operations finance vice president. And then from there, opportunities just presented themselves. Worked up in Burbank and Glendale for a while, working again back with the marketing and sales organization. And then took on technology, took on public affairs and the website responsibilities for finance, got the opportunity to come back to Disneyland. And now, I just, like you mentioned in the intro, fortunate enough to be the VP of Finance, the site CFO down here. And then I'm responsible for all things finance, revenue related. And then I've been fortunate enough to be given a piece of operations, which is special events, which is kind of cool for a finance person to actually then have their foot in the operational piece, which has been great to learn as well. But yeah, so Alex, that's a long answer to say, it started out like here, and then next thing you know, you're 25 years into your Disney career, and you begin to appreciate that, I sit here and think about with my steering committee colleagues, we're responsible for over 30,000 cast members, responsible for a iconic, legacy operation of the Disneyland Resort. It's just, there's a lot of responsibility built into that, but, and who would have thought 25 years ago that this is where this is where I'd be. But I don't know if that answers your question, Alex, but I've been lucky. I've been lucky and been blessed to be able to do it.
When you think about all the jobs you've had and positions, is there one or two that really kind of, I hate to say your favorites, but like you really look back upon with just a certain level of glee?
Yes. One would be the one I'm in right now. I absolutely love the team that I have. When I first got the revenue management teams, this is a couple of years ago before I moved back into the VP of Finance role, it was primarily focused on revenue management, a lot of data analytics. So my first bit of advice that I'm going to share with everybody right now when it comes to careers is if you have the opportunity to learn about data analytics, data mining, data storytelling, take advantage of that. And because I don't care what you ultimately do in your career, data is king right now. I mean, data rules it all. And if you have the ability to mine it and articulate it, you will go far. So I inherited this team that was a number of just young, eager, excited, data-oriented individuals who taught me a ton. But just to watch that group, and we started out small, and we've grown over time, and just to see where they are today and how we've pushed the edges of analytics and continue to bring new people in who push us even further. That's just been one of my favorite experiences, just in general. And then I guess on top of that, so it's kind of all current based. The events team for me has also been just a fantastic experience because it was something brand new to me. And so anybody who's had the opportunity to enjoy a Food and Wine Festival or our Lunar New Year Festival or anything, festival oriented or Disneyland After Darks, my team has helped not just work with the operators to execute it, but also help design it and plan it and build it. And that to me is just, finance has a tendency to, just be this ongoing, you don't have like this final product in many cases where you say, here it is. Whereas the event side of the house, you create an event, it starts from an idea, and then all of a sudden you're walking around in the park and it's going on around you. There's just something super special about that. And then if I could add one more,
Sure.
it was probably my very first one, just entering into the company. And I'd always enjoyed Disney as a brand, as a company, and then to be able to come in. So I don't know that the job itself was like my favorite job,
Right.
but I think what it represented in my career and just that first step into the Walt Disney culture and environment and just the diversity of the company, of the people, of just everything that went along with it. That just holds fond memories for me in general.
Wonderful. Now, if you're tuning in with us live, feel free to leave questions in the comment section. We'll ask them as well. We can go back to kind of your first job, or really say when you first finished school at University of Colorado Boulder.
Yep.
How would you handle the current economic and environment in terms of getting a job or people being furloughed? It's hard for new graduates to get jobs. If you were yourself 22, 23, coming out into the job force right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I graduated in the 1900s. So it was 1991 was when I graduated. And, it was somewhat of a soft economy at that point in time. And nothing, like I think we're seeing right now or what we saw in 2008, but it was still a little bit softer, and I picked a career or a major in accounting that had a need, right? I mean, there's always a need, whether the economy's good or the economy's bad. Finance, accounting, some of those types of roles will always exist. So I was fortunate there. But if I were to be in everybody's shoes today, thinking about that, take this time to learn as much as you can possibly learn. This is some of the same advice. If you tuned in to the event that we had a couple weeks ago, I'm going to give very similar advice. You're all learning a skill set right now that is going to become hugely important in the way business works going forward. And that skill set is being able to communicate, collaborate, articulate, influence, all through TV cameras and through computer screens and all of that. And, it doesn't feel like it, but you're a little bit like blessed in that you're getting this experience. And the the graduates that just graduated and the people who are going to come behind you a couple years from now, they're not going to get this same experience. And this is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to read about how you influence. And frankly, I'm going to say you're all going to be writing your own scripts. You'll be able to write about how to work and live in this world better than anybody else can. So, I mean, if it were me right now, I would be learning as many tricks and tools and just ways to navigate through this environment as you possibly can. Do not give up hope at all. This will come to an end. If there's another thing that I know from my career is that I have been through, I think this is my fourth economic upset, and through each one we see challenges, we see concern, anxiety, angst, all of those things, and rightfully so. But I just think when you're in the middle of it, you don't see the end of it. But there is an end to this, and just keep driving forward and use the opportunity, like I said, to learn about these skills that I think are going to be valuable. And I think things like this, and as you guys are having opportunities to talk to leaders, learn about what they're doing in their business to manage their way through this, because we are. There's a little bit of history when you think about when you go through challenges or a company goes through issues, they like to turn to the corner office and say, all right, help us through this, leader, whoever she or he may be. But that leader's never been through anything like this. So there's a little bit of a voice that you're all going to be able to bring to this moment that I think can be influential, because there's one thing I know about you all, this generation, is that you kind of thrive in an environment of communicating through this type of experience. So, not that human interaction and face-to-face and in the same room, that will come back over time. But I'd be lying to all of you if I said that over the next number of years, more and more companies aren't going to go to an environment where people are working from home or working remotely. And I think that also, in addition to the skills you're bringing, I think it also opens up a bunch of doors for all of you as well, because now, like in my world, I've had some cast members who are they went home to quarantine with their parents, and home might be, I've got one in Wisconsin and one's in Pennsylvania. I've got one in Arizona. One just came back from Colorado, but the work kept going and the connections kept happening, and so this opens up a whole bunch of doors for all of you to be able to connect into companies that might be located thousands of miles away, and yet you can still do the role and still bring that skill set and that passion, and because this is what you guys you know how to do it, and you're learning how to do it as we speak.
Yeah, great answer. We have our first question from the audience, and then we'll get to Alex's second question. So Dr. Kim, she says hello, by the way.
Hello, Dr. Kim.
She says, how do you like your new responsibility related to special events?
Love it. So great question, and I can't talk about it enough. I think what I really like about it too is I've brought together a finance team, an analytical group of people, and then I've brought together an operational group of people, and we've put them in the same space. And as it turns out, they're all kind of wired the same way, right? They're all business people who are trying to solve problems. Fire drills are the same. Maybe one is, you got to put a spreadsheet together, and one is you've got to figure out a guest complaint. But we problem solve, and we do all of these things to just kind of create an experience that the guests love, and that's what it's all about. So for me, it's just been fun to watch that, and then for me to actually spend time in the park and get closer to the guests, which when you are working in Team Disney Anaheim, behind the scenes a little bit, you don't get as much exposure to the day-to-day, and I do enjoy that quite a bit. So I appreciate that question, because it's fun. It's a fun change of pace for me.
Great. Over to you, Alex.
All right. So you just explained to us wonderfully how learning is so important to us as students. But I wanted to ask you, how do you keep up to date with your industry in order to ensure that you look at everything with as fresh a perspective as possible?
Oh, Alex, that's a good question. I would say Probably very similar to what you're all doing. I am connecting with colleagues, so networking, and understanding, what is happening through just the interaction with other people. I stay close with my colleagues at Walt Disney World, with my colleagues at Disneyland Paris, so that we have learnings that we're all going through at the same. A lot of reading. So back in the day, it would have been newspapers, but today it's a lot of online. I'm also lucky. We have a public affairs, public relations department that sends out. So I don't have to go through and dig through websites. They'll forward the information to me. So a lot of reading there. And then as Alex, you and I were talking before this started, I really enjoy podcasts, and I think there's a ton of just insight and information and perspective out there in the podcast world. And if you find a good one, I think you can learn a lot from it. So I think all of that, just trying to stay connected, whether through media, through podcasts, through people, through colleagues, and which I bet you all those things I just mentioned, no different than how you are all learning, except maybe you have a textbook thrown in there, and maybe Professor Roberts forces you to read something you might not want to. But I think it's all kind of the same, learnings as you go through.
I'm going to force you, Alex, to read my book, so just wait. But so the question, because you left three things there I want to talk about. You talked about books, you talked about podcasts, you talked about networking. So what advice would you give to people that are intimidated or struggle with networking, as you know how crucial it is for your career personally and professionally?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, networking, I typically say, it's an interesting question, I think, Professor Roberts, in that when I would speak in front of a live audience, I would always start with networking and how important it is. And that it's a missed opportunity if you're sitting in the same room with somebody that you don't know and you don't actually reach out and say hi to them. That's going to get hard real fast in the world that we are in right now. So I've been thinking about that a lot. And I would tell you that if there's a couple things I know about networking and executives and leaders of industry and businesses, that people, they like to talk about themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And they like to share their experiences, and they like to just spend time helping others, think about their careers and think about that. So I don't think I've ever had a moment where a student has reached out to me, or somebody found me online, where if we needed to connect, I'd find a little bit of time to connect with them, whether it just be exchanges through text or setting up some time if that's available. So I would say it feels uncomfortable, but you got to understand, I think the people you're reaching out to, they like it. They like the connectiveness. Now, again, some people might not, but I think within speaking for my peers at Disneyland and the executives I've grown up with, I think they're all very open to when somebody reaches out to talk to them. So find that opportunity. One thing that we're trying to do at Disneyland right now within my own team, because there are people who, again, with the events team, with the finance team, that we're trying to build that network and connection, is we've set up these virtual coffee meet and greets where, and you could do this within, your classes or whatever, where we just assign people to just spend 30 minutes together, have a virtual coffee with each other. They might not know each other, but by the time 30 minutes is up, they're now connected. And that's a way to keep that connection going, even though we are in, virtual spaces with each other. So, reach out, connect with people, ask for time. In most cases, you'll get it. And then find, as you are in class again and you're back together, find opportunities to connect with those students, because they're going through the same thing. I mean, I think that's the reality of it. Is there's another thing I've learned in my 30-year career is that you're not the only one going through whatever it is you feel like you're going through. There's always somebody else who's going through it as well. And most times, if you're feeling it, there's a lot of people feeling it. So just open yourself up and try to make the connections where you can. But you're absolutely right, Professor Roberts. Networking is key, and jobs are made and careers are built off of the people that you know and the connections that you make and the opportunities that those that those create for you. So just, I talked about my Rolodex and I joked, but I still stay connected with so many people that I've met throughout my career. I'm in the job here at the Disney Company because of a colleague of mine at Deloitte & Touche who left the company. She got a phone call from a placement specialist about a job with the Disney Company. She wasn't interested, but she knew I had an interest in entertainment and Disney. And then next thing you know, she forwarded my name. I got the phone call, and here we are 25 years later. So I owe a lot to the networking connections.
Great story. So we have a bunch of questions that have popped up in the chat. Please continue to leave the questions. The first one is, and please put your name there so we know who you are. It says, what qualities and characteristics do you look for in hourly leadership and entry-level managers when considering promotions and career advancements? What are ways CMs, cast members, can effectively stand out in a highly competitive environment like Disney?
Yeah. So, I think from what we're looking for is, there's a couple of things. For me personally, I'm looking for cast members that are passionate. There's a lot of things, like I trust that there is a sense of analytical skills, right? I'll make sure that you'll make it through the first couple conversations. We'll know if you've got the analytic chops and all that. So there's that. Depending on what role you're trying to go, there's always some base something, and in most cases you all have it. Even when I talk about analytics, you might not think that you've got it, but I can probably bet most of you do. So then it becomes these softer skills that might not be specifically taught in school or specifically taught in class, but it is things like passion. You want to find somebody who's curious and asks a lot of questions and wants to dig deeper and wants to keep peeling away the onion and get to the root insight of whatever it is that we're doing. I love people that they're self-starters, and they come with the answer, or at least the request, and then some, and they look beyond just what the initial ask was, or what the initial question is that they're trying to get at. So we've got passion, we've got a sense of curiosity. I think empathy is a good one, and I think that's something, as we are going through what we're going through right now with Black Lives Matter and those discussions. I think empathy is a key trait that we're looking for, being able to understand and walk in somebody else's shoes, especially if I think that's true for all cast members, but especially if you're trying to lead a group of people. You need to have a sense of empathy and understanding. I think that's important as well. And I also look for people who are having fun. We spend a lot of time in these roles, and yes, we're very serious, and yes, we work hard. And I don't think that that's not true that's true for any company out there. Nobody's out there just to have fun, right? I mean, that'd be great. But I think we can do all the things that we're being asked to do and have fun at the same time. So I do enjoy, cast members, leaders who don't take themselves so seriously. None of us are bigger than the jobs that we're in, and so you got to come at it with a sense of, let's have fun, let's motivate each other, let's take care of each other. And so I look for that in a leader as well. And I think it's a great question about how do you stand out among the masses when you are thinking about, I think a lot of those traits hold true to how you stand out. I think one of the biggest things that you can do is just keep working hard and, drive. You can do all those other things I talked about and be heads down and focused. And, we look for, that the cast member that shows up on time, wants to work, puts in, the dedication and the effort. Those things are noticed. And, I wish I could sit here and say every single employee, cast member is wired that way, but they're not. And I think, you can quickly see, you can highlight yourself if you are putting in the work and putting in the drive with all those other things. Because I also don't want to make it sound because like I said, you need to be balanced, and it can't just be all work all the time, because I don't think that's healthy, nor is that fun to be around. But at the same time, do all those things, but also keep the effort keep the
All
effort
right.
going.
And
Yeah.
shout out to Samantha Wiggins. That's who answered that or asked that question. So hello, Samantha. Thanks for the
Good
question.
question, Samantha. I'm going to write that down. You just stood out among your
She's
peers.
gonna be laughing. I know she is.
Yeah.
So next up, and then we'll go back to Alex, is Myra. She says, hello again, Clark. How can someone interested in working in special events get involved in Disneyland? Is there any way to volunteer or work with a coordinator for a day to gain exposure and learn?
Good question. So if you are a cast member, so if you are internal to Disneyland, one thing my team does like to do is, we can have other cast shadow and understand what we do, and spend some time, which I think is important. I think special events is interesting because a lot of times when you're on the outside looking in, you get to see the cool part of the special event, the fun everybody's having, maybe the celebrity that somebody is walking around, and all that. But there's a lot of work that goes into, as I think a lot of my your previous guests have talked about, sitting in the same chair, a lot of work and planning and late hours to get to what that offering is. But I'll tell you what, if you're interested, if you're a cast member, that's easier because we can make that connection, and my team's usually pretty good about letting cast shadow and understand what they're doing. If you're on the outside, we might be able to figure something out, but you can probably reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we can see if there's a way to do it. But if you're a Disneyland cast member, for sure, connect with me, and we can. Once we get our events back up and running again, I'm more than happy to connect you with one of our program managers or one of our leads who is working their way through it.
Great. And you can see on the ticker is a link to Clark's LinkedIn profile. So make sure you follow him. Jordan, yes, this will be available to view at a later time. You can go to YouTube or Facebook. It's there waiting for you to watch it. Alex, what's up? What's your next question?
Okay, so my next question is, during your career at Disney, what kinds of changes or interesting or favorite trends have you seen in the industry?
So I've seen a lot, I think. We've seen technology evolve quite a bit. We launched in January, so it feels like forever ago, but it wasn't. Rise of the Resistance at Galaxy's Edge. And it's crazy about that is that it's a fantastic attraction that not a lot of people have had the opportunity to ride yet, because we went into hibernation here, right after we launched it. But just to watch what we can do with an attraction like that versus maybe when we were doing, again, while great attractions, something like Little Mermaid, a little bit more Omni Mover type of like Haunted Mansion type of things, and then use technology to tell a story in a completely immersive, different way. I think that's been a huge evolution. And then I think how our guests interact with our product. So our app, moving a lot of the experience, or I shouldn't say a lot, but moving some of the experience onto an app that now you can, in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, again, being a good example, where you can, you can play a role of a bounty hunter and solve some puzzles and things like that on the app within this immersive environment. So I think that has been a big piece of the evolution for me. I just think the way we think about the product has evolved quite a bit as well. You go all the way back to the days of ticket books, A, B, C, D, and E tickets, way before everybody's time on this call. But you go back to that, and now when you think about how we price our tickets, how we sell them, the channels, the way it's digital, it's still some old school selling through ticket booths and all of that. I mean, I just think the evolution of just how we commercialize our product is great. And then the last thing that I'll say, I've seen a lot in 30 years, but I think here at Disneyland specifically, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out to my food and beverage and my merchandise partners, because that's something where food and beverage used to be, so you'd go to the park and it's something that, you'd grab a hot dog or a burger and fries, and that was just, something that you did. But now the way that our food and beverage has it's innovative and evolved, and it's become part of the experience, which is fantastic. So we're about to, launch Avengers Campus at Disney's California Adventure here in a little bit. Oh, look at Samantha with one of those booklets. Here in once we get back up and running again, and we're going to have a dining experience in there that's just going to be fun and an innovative way to tell a story within the Avengers world using food. And I think that to me is something that's completely evolved over time. And then merchandise, same way. When I think about the way we have taken color palettes and turned it into rose gold and turned it into trends, and these trends then and the trends are there, and my merchandise teams, I mean, they are watching the trends out farther out there and then able to grab onto those and then just create these merchandise experiences again that become a part of the experience, not just I'm buying a souvenir. So I think that space has just been incredible growth as well for us.
You mentioned trends, and there's a question that came up that kind of follows along with that line of thinking. First, I'll kind of rephrase it. How will the safety measures that are going to be put into place because of the pandemic shift how we can still come together as a group and have fun at Disneyland? And then what new technology or innovation, if you're able to share, are you considering using to aid in that kind of capacity?
Sure. So I think, first off, when it comes to the safety measures, I appreciate the question. Safety will always be our number one priority. Safety for our guests, safety for our cast. So you will see, if you've been to Downtown Disney, you've seen some changes in the protocol where we do temperature checks. Now, as you arrive, we have expectations that you will wear a mask during your entire visit. You will have 6-foot social distancing. We have casts that are there to, nicely remind you if you're not following, the safety guidelines we have put in place. We are fortunate to have a on-site medical expert. So Dr. Pam, you might have seen her, Pam Heimel, on the news, on Good Morning America, on our blogs. And so she does a really nice job of just keeping us up to date on what's going on, what our safety protocol should be, so on and so forth. So we're blessed to have, I think, what will be world-class safety protocols when our parks open. You're seeing it at Downtown Disney, and frankly, you're seeing it at Walt Disney World, which opened just a couple weeks ago. Right. So safety will always be key. And that will be happening. So hopefully everybody will feel safe when they're in the space. And I would also say that it's a two-way street, right? We can do what we can do, but our guests have to do the other side of that equation, which is to be safe as well. And if you don't feel safe going out, you shouldn't come. I mean, that's just I think just natural advice in general. If you don't feel safe in this environment, just overall. Now, when it comes to how we will keep you connected and all of that, it's going to be challenging. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it is with social distancing that we need to have in place, with masks. It'll make it hard. But I do think the experience is still the experience. We won't have fireworks, right away, or parades, or these big gathering moments. But if you're there with some friends or you're there with family, you'll be able to enjoy the attractions as a family unit. You'll be able to participate in the food and beverage as a family unit, so on and so forth, or as a friend unit. Again, as long as you feel safe with the friends that you are experiencing the product with. Now, technology-wise, we have at Walt Disney World, we have a reservation system. So you're going to need a reservation. You need a ticket and then a reservation, so we can manage capacity, which is, I think, a key component to creating that experience that we're talking about. And then ways that we've used technology for things like Rise of the Resistance when we first opened that up, to be able to manage queue lines and all that, I think is another approach that could potentially be used to manage the experience through technology. So there's going to be some things that are new as far as like the experience itself goes, but hopefully the feel will feel like a Disney visit, a Disney vacation. And I think we're seeing that at Walt Disney World. I think the guests who are coming are absolutely enjoying the experience that they get, and the waits are short. Just for that. So a lot going on in that space, but I think the big meta point on it all is we will be as safe as we can possibly be. But there's a responsibility on both sides of that equation.
Excellent answer. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
When you look at you yourself as a professional, I'm really curious to know, what skills are you looking to learn, improve? What are you looking to be better at?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think as I've been going through my career, I mean, I'll be very honest about here in the short term, as a leader of a very diverse group of people, am I leading them as well as I could? I mean, I talked about empathy, I talked about awareness, as I'm going, frankly, on my own personal journey through the Black Lives Matter conversations, and what that means to our company, what it means to me, what it means to my team. I think there's opportunity for me to grow and to learn in that space. And so as I talk about reading and podcasts and education, that is an area that I am focused on right now. I think that is just something for me to I could be better in that space, and I'm trying to educate myself even further on that. So that's a big one for me right now as I'm going through. I think the other space is I talked about analytics, and I talked about this young group of cast members that are pushing the limits on how we use technology. That's where I'm just glad when I get my iPad to work like I needed to, that I'm constantly trying to keep up with them on things like Tableau and R² and Python and these technologies. And not that I need to know exactly how to use it, but I do need to know how to interpret what they're saying, and how whatever the outputs are or whatever the visualizations are, that I can understand how to help them be, because I think they bring a lot of the technology and the pushing the analytic limits. I think over my career, I bring the how do you tell a story, and how do you influence, and how do you turn data into information. And so we're trying to marry those two things. But I think I'm asking them to learn more about data visualization and data communication, while they're looking at me saying, you need to learn more about the ins and outs of data analytic. So I'm working in that space as well. There's just so much to learn. I mean, and that's the thing is, you guys are seeing it, and you're going through it. And by the time you get through your senior year, Alex, you're going to be like, well, all that stuff I learned my freshman year, it's like, don't need that anymore, because it's just evolved so fast. But you will need it, by the way.
Yes, you will, Alex. Don't worry. What books or podcasts are you reading and listening to learn more about the Black Lives Matter movement?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. There's a book out by a professor, Dr. Johnson, at the University of Colorado called Inclusify. Okay. She just put that out. I've heard her speak back in the day about unconscious biasness, and that's where I first started learning. And she, again, part of it because of the alumni connection, but that's a book about. She talks about, we'd like to have organizations where it stands out, or we have an organization where everybody needs to fit in. And the problem is you got to find somewhere in the middle where you can stand out and fit in at this time. So a little bit on that inclusification, so diversity and inclusiveness there. Here's what's interesting, Professor Roberts, is that I've actually seen a couple movies like The Black Klansman. So watch that with my wife, and great film, entertaining film, came out in 2017, and the underlying message is so relevant today. as to when it came out in 2017. And Amy actually said to me, this is incredible because the story has been there, right? The message was there, but we weren't interpreting it the right way. And maybe the right way is not the right way to put it, but it was entertainment. It was an interesting story. But then you watch it today and you go, oh my gosh, we've been talking about this, we've been talking about it for a long time. Yes, but like these past couple of years, like that came out and there it was. And yet we weren't listening to it the way that I listened to it today. So just entertain. I mean, I'm actually watching The Watchmen right now on HBO. Again, entertainment that it turned me on then to go do some more research about the Tulsa massacre, right? So because that's where it's all, so that's where it's all based. So things like that I think are interesting to me because it's digging me into just various other dialogues. And then I would say from a podcast perspective, there's a podcast out there called 1619, which just talks about the Black experience for the past 400 years and what still exists today. And then that turned me on to a podcast called White Lies, which talks about the Selma incident, which then turned us on to watch Selma, the film. And all of this has just been, for me, it's just been eye-opening, and just, again, there's so much more that I could learn and be aware of that maybe before it was just, I heard it, but I didn't appreciate it. And I think this is turning me on to just wanting to learn more. I'm also the executive co-chair of Pride, which is for our LGBTQ plus community at Disneyland. And so that group is also opening my eyes to various and sundry other things, because that's the thing, is like, we've got Black Lives Matter is key, and we've got to make sure we're focusing and for me, allying with, what we need to, but at the same time, it's opening up dialogues and conversations on a spectrum of things that, we need to be focused on. And again, for me personally, it's interesting because I was going to walk in my first Pride parade. But they all, unfortunately have all been canceled. But for me, that was like, all right, another step into something that is brand new to me, a brand new experience to help educate me and teach me as I continue on this journey that I'm on right now. But there's so many interesting pieces out there that as you just keep going down and pulling the thread, you're just like, man, there's just more and more to learn.
Well, I commend you for actually wanting to learn and doing the research and learning, and that's like half the battle right there. So I commend you for that. So thank you. Alex, over to you for your next question.
Okay, so you mentioned leadership earlier. It's a fun fact about me. I'm taking a master class with Doris Kearns Goodwin, and she's a historian, and she uses past presidents to teach us today about how to be a leader. So that leads into my next question for you. What are some of the best lessons you've learned from your bosses or other leaders you have encountered?
Oh, well, I'm going to start with a broad statement, Alex, that says, you're always going to learn something from every leader that you have. You're going to have some great leaders in your career, and you're going to have some really bad leaders in your career. And as long as you're learning from both of them, I think that is key. Because just like family, sometimes you can't pick who your leader's going to be. They just sometimes just kind of show up, and next thing you know, this is who you're reporting to. And so some of the things I've learned is, I have learned about empathy from leaders. I have learned about caring about people, caring about projects, but also knowing who are the right people to work on a project. Because I've seen the exact opposite of that. I learned that through project was like the end all be all, and it didn't matter how many people you burned out or how many people just got, it wasn't the right fit or whatever. And it didn't go very well. So I learned that there's this balancing act between the work that needs to get done and the people who need to do it. And I learned that through a leader that I don't think was all that great, because they were just very much, but the thing about leaders too is you get catchphrases from all of them. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a leader was, give me what I ask for, and then go ahead and add value after that. And what that means is, like, if somebody's asking or head makes a request, don't go in and just change the request and come back with what you think the right answer is. Come back with what they asked for, because if there's one thing I know is if you come back with a different product, different than what they asked, you're never going to get them over the fact that you didn't answer their question. But answer their question and then say, however, let's talk about this, or maybe we could think about that. So, and some of the best advice I ever received, because it is one of those where, you give them what they want, and then they'll listen to what you have to say after that. But if you don't give them what they want to begin with, it goes south for you really fast. So that was a good one. You can't timing is another one that, timing plays a key role in all of your careers. You're going to find that, you, in some cases, you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and you're never going to know when that is. And nothing's going to feel like it goes fast enough. But trust me, in a 30, 40, 50-year-long career, moments in time are going to be little blips like this that we're going through right now. It might be a couple years till things start feeling like we're in a, whatever's coming up next and begin to stabilize a bit. But you'll all be 15 years down the road from now, and it's going to go in the blink of an eye, and you'll be telling stories about those couple of years. You won't even remember how long it was. You'll just be like, I remember, 2020. So timing and time is it's one of those things that, you got to work your way through it, but you can't, if there's one thing you can't do is you can't time it. If you think you're going to time it at the right time, I'll tell you what, that's not going to happen. So that's what I tell you, Alex, pick up those fun little nuggets of just, you can throw those out at dinner parties too.
Yes, just watch the replay, Alex. Just watch the replay. We have another good question from Samantha. Great question, Samantha. Thank you. She says, how do you manage work-life balance in the 24/7, 365-day industry and organization?
Samantha. Number two, Samantha. Yeah. So this is getting harder and harder and harder, right? Alex and I were talking before this about, one thing that's been nice about the quarantining is that I haven't had to commute. But there was, frankly, something nice about the commute because it separated the work day from the home day. And even then, you still bring work home with you, but there was this separation period. Now, when I wake up, I'm in, the bedroom right now. And when I wake up, I look over and there's my computer and there's the desk, and it's just waiting for me to come over and start doing some work. And when I go to bed, I have to walk by my computer. It's just like, wow, maybe I should check my email before I go to bed. So I think, it's been gradually becoming this way, whereas work and life are becoming, they're one and the same. And so you've got to be able to turn one on and turn one off. And you have to be very purposeful about it. And I do try to, when I'm done for the day, or if I'm done for a period of time, just shutting it down and not answering my phone. And if there's one thing I know too, is that it'll be there when you get back. It'll be waiting for you. And if somebody needs me desperately because there's a fire drill that we've got to get done, they'll text me and then I'll jump on it. But if I'm not getting a text, I will, I'll try to just put it aside, do whatever it is I'm doing with my family, with my own headspace, and then turn it back on when the time is right. There's no perfect answer to work-life balance. Everybody's different. Everybody's on their own journey in that space. For some people, work actually allows them to relax at home, or checking emails on vacation allows them to enjoy their vacation more. So I think you got to find your own sweet spot. But I would also tell you, Samantha, when you find it, hold true to it. Don't let people invade it, and own it, right? And once you set a standard or an expectation with your leadership, or when you're the leader, just own up to that, and don't let, obviously there's moments, but try to protect it as much as you can. And then when you are a leader of people, you gotta, you gotta also walk the walk. And so I try not to send emails on weekends or emails at 9 o'clock at night, because all that says to the cast is that, hey, I'm working at 9. Are you? And I just don't like that, because I don't want to set a precedent for them or a feeling that they need to be working those hours as well. So set it up, protect it, own it, but figure out what works for you. And it's going to change over time. Like when you're single, and it's just you, you're probably more than happy maybe to put more hours in. Maybe not. I mean, maybe when you're single, it's like, I want to be able to spend more time with my friends and all of that. So you'll decide what works there. And then next thing you know, if, like for me, married, and when it was me and just Amy and myself, we came to a pact that said, let's try to move my career and our careers as quickly as we can, because once we have a child, it's going to change everything. So I was focused at that point in time about driving my career and all that. And then when Morgan showed up, things kind of changed again. And so it's going to change and evolve and move. So, but all I would say is, once you find that sweet spot in the moment that you're in your life, protect it, own it, share it so people know, and go from there. If there's one thing this generation is teaching my generation, is that there's more to life than work. There's more to. I remember my first job, if I can tell this.
You can tell it, yes.
My first job at Deloitte & Touche. It's a public accounting firm, very hierarchical. You have the partner, and then the director and the manager, and then the analyst and the new guy. And I was the new guy. And I remember sitting down in my first job, and the senior said to me, "You just need to know, Clark, that you don't leave until that person above you leaves." And so if the partner was on the job, everybody was there at the site, and you were waiting for each level to go home. And they would say to me, you look like, if you have nothing to do, you look like you're doing something, because you're not going to leave. And that was wired into me for so many years, that now, with my cast today, they're like, hey, I'm done. I'm out. Right. And I don't, which is fine, but it's like, it takes evolution. And so if there's one thing, like I'm saying, the generation is teaching me and how I need to evolve, is that, work is a little bit 24/7, but so is life. It's 24/7 as well. And it can get done, as long as it's getting done, and it's getting done in, the manner that we are proud of, and we're meeting the expectations of the people we're doing it for. There's a little bit of, I don't care when and how it gets done. It just happens.
How have your hours shifted, like post quarantine? Like, were you maybe like an 8 to 8 now, but now you're like a 7 to 9? How has it shifted since we've gone to quarantine?
Yeah, I'm finding that there's more work by running a park that's not open than there is when you're running a park that is. Now, I would tell you, Professor Roberts, so I'll just peel it back a little bit for everybody, but don't tell my bosses this, that every morning we have a meeting at 8:30, which has been great. I mean, so my leader, who's the CFO of the segment, he has a meeting at 8:30 every morning. I'm finding now that since I don't have to commute, I'll get up and I'll go for a run or for a walk, and I will be skating in to the house at like 8:10. I'll take, as long as I can get a shower in, get my hair done, and maybe a clean shirt, I can jump onto the VTC, and nobody knows. Nobody knows what happened. So what I'm finding is that the work for me is like, it goes a little bit later now than it used to. Whereas before, is like, again, you got in the car and you came home for dinner. Well, now dinner is just right downstairs, and as long as there's no traffic on the stairs, I can get down to the dinner table in just a couple minutes. So there's like, what we're missing anymore is like that gap period between meetings. I find that meetings now are just, they're back to back to back, probably very similar to what everybody here is going against, because you don't have to go anywhere. You just click one button, turn that meeting off, click the next one, turn the next meeting on. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's evolved for sure, but yeah.
So we've got like 4 minutes left. So I'm going to let Alex ask our last question, and then we'll thank Clark. So Alex, I'm going to turn over to you for our final question.
This is a big one, Alex. I mean, this is like no last question.
There's so much pressure.
I know.
Samantha took my last good one with the work-life balance. So,
Good job, Samantha.
I know. Good job, Samantha. So I guess my last question to you is, with all the stuff that you have to do with work and the meetings back to back, and then us students and Professor Roberts trying to adjust to COVID, online school and everything, how do you stay resilient as a person?
Oof, that is a really good question, Alex. Because, all right, so we're an open dialogue here, right? We're in a safe space. It's hard. I mean, it is hard. So again, for me personally, we came into working from home. That came with its own set of challenges, and we got to a good cadence, a good pace. Disneyland announced we were going to be opening July 17th. So that gave everybody a goal to shoot for and a date to move on. And so, the work is moving. We're excited. We're getting close to that date. The date then gets moved, and now we don't know when the opening time is going to come. And so when that happened, I will tell you, for me personally, it was like, wow, this is hard. You get to a moment of, well, we knew what we were shooting for. We knew what we were driving to. And it became, for me, again, it became kind of a gut punch to be like, oh, well, here we're starting all over again. And so there was a moment where I was sitting here and I was feeling like, where do we go from here? Is this ever going to end? Are we ever going to get open? And I think it was just moments of reflection where, I look into my past, and like I mentioned before, you get there. We will get to the other side. It will happen. And what I find energizing is when I get the opportunity then to get back in front of my cast, and we as a team talk about whatever the next topic is, talk about how they're doing. That to me is energizing because, again, I think I need to stay. I've got my moments. We all do. We're all humans. We are not machines. We are not robots. We have emotions. We've got limited tanks in our engine. And so, we need to take time to stop and to breathe and to reflect and pull the energy from somewhere. And that energy can be pulled from your family. It can be pulled from, just taking some time off, a good book, a movie, or for me, in addition to my family, it is my team. And so, for me, it's just like, get me back with my team and let's have a couple of conversations and let's have some dialogues, and that'll recharge me and get me through whatever it is that I'm going through. And it leads me back to another point I made, Alex, which is, I know I'm not the only one going through it, right? I mean, I'm not. And by the way, Disneyland is not the only one going through what Disneyland is going through. You guys we're talking from the same storybook because we're all going through this at the same time. So even something like this, and having the opportunity to talk to you and talk to Professor Roberts and share with everybody on this VTC is just like, that's energizing to me as well, because it's moments that allow us to remember, what's real, and what's real is all this group of people, this culture, this world getting through the same thing, and that to me is it resolves me into getting my energy back. So you guys, this charged me back up for at least I got another good week.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we definitely want to say thank you very much for spending some time with us, for your wisdom, your transparency, and just the conversation, just amazing conversation. So thanks again. We love your support for our EHM program. It means a lot to us.
Yep.
And we look forward to just continue to build the program with you and your partnership. So thank you. And Alex, thank you for your first, what a debut.
Yeah.
I mean, you said girl.
Crushed it.
No, yes.
You need to call Samantha and say, hey, stop stealing my questions.
Thank you to everyone who participated, Samantha, Myra, everyone who asked questions. We're going to look at a quick preview of our guests for next week. So make sure everyone stays safe. Thanks again, Clark. We will see you all soon. And here is a preview of next week's guest.
Next week's guest is Carolyn Owens. Carolyn is currently the Music Clearance Manager at Fox, where she oversees the music clearance and confirmation for the marketing, management, and compliance of music cue sheets. She has over 13 years of experience in music licensing in TV, film, and new media. She has founded her own music consulting firm, Music for Scenes, and has worked for Entertainment Tonight and The Insider as music supervisor, where she has also produced music-related segments and reviewed music releases. Please join us next Friday as we chat with Carolyn Owens.